So, guys, before we start, let's do a quick introduction. So, meanwhile, I am introduce myself and I introduce Kairos Consultant. Let's just introduce everyone. Can you guys write down the name of your brand, the name of your restaurant, and where you guys from? So, I'm Rima. I'm from Relo, and well, we're all over the country. So, guys, for the folks who are new, Zero is a marketing CRM software tool that helps restaurant owners manage their marketing, automate their marketing, create loyalty program, start WhatsApp campaigns, automate their WhatsApp campaigns, basically help them retain their customers, help them get new customers by use of referral, via use of QR codes, so on and so forth. And we have today with us Shanky. She is co-founder of Kairos Consultant. Now, what Kairos Consultant does? Well, they empower ambitious change makers with data-driven strategy. So when we talk about data, it's the most less spoken thing in restaurant industry, right? Most of us, including me before I joined, we didn't even know how to manage and use data. So Kairos Consultant, their expertise in precise customer segmentation and advanced data analysis, and they help you hyper personalize your omni-channel engagement. They help you bring the maximum ROI that you can get from proven methods. Now, I'll leave it to Shanky. Shanky, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the introduction, Rima. Hello, everyone. I am Shanky. I am the co-founder of Kairos Consultants. I have had an extensive experience in this domain over the last decade. When I started with my career, I was a part of a marketing as company, which enabled restaurateurs to use technology to do their marketing. During this journey, I had the advantage, I had the opportunity to actually see very closely how restaurants can collect their data, manage their data, and then use their data to make the most out of it. Uh, just giving you a brief about myself and the kind of experience and exposure we have had. We catered to over thousands of brands across some 25 cities in the country over the last decade, and we have had the opportunity to run over some 10,000 data-driven campaigns during this time period. It gave us an exposure to a wide range of things, from what is important for a restaurant when it comes to collection of data, what are the challenges that restaurants face when it comes to collecting and utilizing their data, and what are the best case practices in order to ensure that this data is being. I think someone is saying that my voice is breaking. Am I audible?
Uh, Shanky, you're audible to me. Vikas, can you check if it's from your end? Otherwise, we'll run a quick tech check. Also, guys, since we had a chance of a little break, can you guys let us know in the comment section, in the chat section, Hindi better रहेगा आपके लिए English या mixed चलेगा? Just let us know your preferences and accordingly we'll switch. Yeah, Shanky, you can go forward.
Yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, we had the chance to work with multiple restaurants and across formats. So we have worked with QSRs, we have worked with chaiwalas, we have worked with national and international chains as well. So we got to see all sides of the coin during this part of the journey. And we got to see the power of data. I think that was the most exciting thing, how data is not just important for the business in terms of marketing and campaigns, but also in the sustainable growth of the brand. Like, how can you grow your brand in different aspects using data? But also during this journey, we noticed that though restaurateurs in today's time and age understand value data, they face a lot of roadblocks, a lot of hurdles, which becomes a challenge for them to actually optimally use the data or even start with their data-driven marketing journey. And this is something that happens at all levels. It's not something that is being faced only by, let's say, a small scale restaurant or only by the larger chains with a lot of data, but this happens across the board. And this is a very serious concern. So to connect the dots, to enable restaurants with the technology available in the market, we launched Kairos. Kairos essentially is a consulting firm which enables restaurateurs, enables entrepreneurs to leverage the data that they have in order to optimally use it and increase their business, increase their revenue, also enhance the ROI on their marketing activities. Because marketing is a very generic term in these days. Marketing needs to be aligned to revenue also. That's precisely what we help brands do when it comes to data-driven marketing. We also enable brands to uh, complete the entire journey, right? From collecting of data, how do you analyze the data? How do you segmentize the data? How do you understand what needs to be done for which segment? And once that understanding has happened, how do you use this data? What kind of marketing activities, what kind of campaigns can you run? And then how do you optimally gain ROI from this? And largely speaking, we also help restaurants navigate the different data challenges that they face. Like there are multiple, we'll cover that in the course of our conversation. There are multiple challenges that restaurants face in today's day and age. And it's very important that we are able to overcome these challenges in order to do what we want to with data, So I'll just be sharing my screen with everyone. So everyone is just 1 second. Yeah. So like I was saying, we started Kairos to help restaurateurs and entrepreneurs bridge this gap between the aspiration of using data and actually being able to use data through problem solving, as well as making sure they are on the right path. Like they are able to follow through the processes, set a plan of action, and map the revenue, whatever they are doing through data-driven marketing. Right. In today's topic, we'll be covering largely how data, what are the challenges that restaurants face, and what are the best case scenarios, or what are the best suitable solutions when it comes to overcoming these challenges. Then we'll be talking about what is hyper personalization. What do you mean by hyper personalization and how to do it? And lastly, we'll be talking about the topic which is probably the closest to me, which is how do you maximize your profit? How do you increase your business? How do you make sure you're in an upward curve when it comes to growing your business using data, right? Before we dive into the topic, I think everyone here understands the importance of data and hence they are a part of the call. But just to put a picture in everyone's mind, without data, it's like you're standing in the middle of a highway and you're deaf and you're blind and you can't see anything. And it's a really scary place to be in. And especially in today's time and age when data is gaining importance by the minute, right? Like all industries across are leveraging data. Businesses which are not able to leverage data will eventually stand redundant in the long run. Our aim here is to empower businesses so that they are not facing those challenges, and we'll carry on with that. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, yeah. Rima, what do you understand by data-driven marketing? What is data for you?
Well, data for me is everything. I mean, to understand whether my marketing worked or not, and सिर्फ marketing worked or not वो समझने के लिए नहीं, but otherwise भी किसको market करना है, कैसे market करना है, and especially what message to give out, right? I mean, if somebody is interested maybe in something else और मैं उनको entirely कुछ और ही market कर रही हूँ. So for me, data is very important to understand before and after.
Very true. I think we have about 25 plus restaurateurs on the chat with us right now. My question to all of you is, if I ask you today, who are your top customers? Or who are your top 50 customers who used to be very frequent to the brand and they have stopped visiting? And if you know them, what can you do about them? Or my first question is, do you even know them? Do you know who are your top customers who are contributing to a large section of your revenue? Because as data says, 80% of a business's revenue comes from 20% of their repeat customers. So it's very essential that we hold on to them. They contribute to a chunk of the business that we make. Also, data says that the cost of acquisition of a customer is 10 times higher than the cost of retention, whereas the cost of the revenue contribution by a new customer is 1/10 of that of a repeat customer, which means, let's say Rima and I are customers for one of the restaurants. If she is a one-time customer and she is, let's say, contributing 1,000 rupees to the brand, me being a repeat customer, on an average, I'm going to contribute 10,000 rupees to the brand. And the cost of retaining me is 1/10. So if the cost of acquisition for Rima is 100 rupees, you retain a customer like me with just 10 rupees, right? So the ROI is immensely big when it comes to data-driven marketing, right? So what is data-driven marketing? I think Rima rightly covered that it's understanding the different segments, what they want, and reaching out to them. Why is it needed? It is needed not just for the business growth, it is also needed to optimize your marketing ROI. And how do we implement is implementing the data-driven marketing is a combination of three major things. Firstly, it is the technology part of it. I think Relo is a great software when it comes to using that tool, the software part of it to do this. The second part of it is setting out processes and strategies, understanding what you want from your data. Whether do you want to increase your sales or do you want to increase your customer base, whatever it is, understanding and then putting a plan in place so that you can see if you're achieving those plans. And thirdly, it is tailoring the strategies, because there's no one thing that can work for all the brands. It's very important that we customize the strategies depending on our own needs and requirements. I'll just move to the next part. So, data is very important. So when we say data impacts revenue, what do we mean? So revenue is a combination of two things. It's how many bills that a restaurant is making on a day-to-day basis or a month-on-month basis, and what is the average value of those bills. If we can increase both these metrics, automatically there's a growth in revenue. So let's say if a restaurant is having 100 bills a day, the idea behind data-driven marketing is how can I make it 120 bills a day? Or if the average order value of that restaurant is, let's say, 1,000 rupees, the idea is how can it be made 1,200 or 1,500 rupees, right? When we combine these two, it leads to an automatic increase over a period of time. It leads to an automatic increase in the overall revenue for the brand. And when it comes to enhanced marketing ROI, so marketing in today's term is a very generic thing. So coding is also marketing, and Instagram post going up is also marketing, and using data is also marketing. The beauty of using data-driven marketing is here we are able to associate any investment in marketing directly to revenue, which is not the case for largely all the other marketing activities. For example, if I put up a hoarding, I really can't attribute a revenue to that hoarding. Or if I'm putting up an Instagram post, the maximum that I can see is how many views or how many likes or how many impressions that post has had. But here, the beauty is we are able to track the revenue. So if I'm running a campaign on a particular group of customers, I know the expense behind the campaign. And when these customers return, because we are tracking data meticulously, we are able to identify the revenue generated from this segment of customers. And hence, we are able to track the ROI and make sure we are on the right track. Like we are getting good ROI on our campaigns. How can we make it better? And a combination of these leads to an increase in business overall, like across all channels. The second aspect to this is how can we increase the customer metrics? By customer metrics, I mean there are different standards or different ways where you measure the health of the customer metrics of a brand. So first thing is how can we increase the CLV? CLV stands for customer lifetime value. So as a customer, if I'm visiting a restaurant, suppose if as a customer I'm going to Domino's, I have visited there 10 times and my average billing there was 1,000 rupees. So my customer lifetime value for the brand is 10,000 rupees. Similarly, here we aim to see how can we increase both the frequency of the customer visit as well as the average amount of money that they are spending on every bill, thereby increasing the customer lifetime value of the brand. Then we also data-driven marketing really impacts this. So this is the reduced churn rate, which essentially means that customers who leave the brand, they were associated with the brand at one point of time, and eventually they became a risky and then a lost customer. How do we decrease the number of people who are leaving the brand? So 38% of the businesses who had deployed data-driven marketing noticed a 10x increase in retention numbers. Like they were able to increase the number of customers coming back to the brand by 10 times, which is a huge impact because these customers have a higher lifetime value, like we discussed earlier. All right. Then we have the broader funnel. So I think in school and colleges, we all know what a funnel is. A funnel basically are customers who interact with the brand and then eventually continue their journey with the brand. So let's say the starting of the funnel are customers who are interested in the brand. Secondly, out of those customers, how many people actually engage with the brand or buy something from the brand? And then they move to the second visit, third visit, fourth visit, and so on. The idea is to identify where we are losing customers. Are we losing customers after the first visit? So again, question to restaurateurs on the call, how many of us actually know that customers who had visited us for the first time, how many of them never turned up for their second visit, right? Because the cost of acquisition is really high, and it's very essential for us to try and ensure that the customers are coming back to us again and again. And that's where data-driven marketing plays a very, very major role, right? Then we have higher conversion. So this is very interesting, and in fact, we use Relo's one of Relo's product for this really well. So this is higher conversion. What do we mean by conversion? So advertising leads to impressions and visibility where people get to see the brand. That's well and good, but how do we actually ensure these customers are coming back to the brand? So there are different concepts that get applied here. One of the concepts being like a welcome reward. So I think one of the strategies that we follow with our clients is, if you have customers ordering from you from Swiggy, Zomato, or you are doing a newspaper rollout, or you're simply doing like an Instagram influencer thing where you're going to be visible to a large audience. The idea is not just to stop at visibility, but to ensure these customers come back to the brand. So what we do is we use the Relo's QR codes and the links that are available in order to ensure that these customer database not just gets uploaded on the system. So I get to know that, okay, Rima saw my coding or my newspaper ad, but also I can give Rima a reward which will entice her or which will incentivize her to actually come back to the brand and do a billing with the brand. Right. So that's it's very important, because here you are able to convert your people. Here you are able to increase the number of people to the funnel, like increase your customer base in general. Right. And then we have optimal RFM health. So RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monitoring. Recency means when was the last time this customer visited? Frequency means how many times they have visited till now. And monitoring means how much do they spend on an average? What's their average billing? Here, RFM health, what it actually does is it breaks down your customer base. If you have, let's say, 10,000 customers, it breaks it down into 16 beautiful segments. Here you are able to now identify, this is my cream customer. This is someone who visits me often. They have visited me in the recent past, so they are active customers and they are also high spenders. So this is my cream crowd. If I'm doing an event or if I'm doing a new product launch, new outlet launch, this is the customer base I want to reach out to, right? Or I can see a segment of customers who are lost now, but they used to be frequent. They used to be this category of customers. So this is my cream lost customer base, right? So I definitely want to get them back to this part of the RFM thing. And it's not just about looking at RFM at a one-time basis, but monitoring your RFM. Like we go to a doctor to get our own vitamins checked and everything. And this is similar to your brand's health, your customers' health, right? Then we have increased AOV. AOV stands for average order value. Again, going back to an example, let's say Rima and I both are customers for the brand, and she usually comes in with her office colleagues and has a larger group. Her billing ticket size is going to be higher than mine. So it's very important to identify the average order value for behind every customer and then target them accordingly. If my AOV is, let's say, 500, the idea is how can I make it to a 600 or a 650? Is Rima's AOV is, let's say, 2000, the idea is how can I make it at 2500? So it's again, breaking down these customers into different segments, addressing them, and seeing an increase in these metrics over a period of time. The objective behind data-driven marketing is to improve all of these metrics. These are pointers that kind of show you where your brand is at the moment, and then what are the pain points, and how can you resolve them to make these numbers better. So I think till now we spoke about different things about data and why is data-driven marketing important. And I'm sure everyone is very on the same page with the fact that data is important and we need to leverage data. But what stops us from using data to its fullest, or what even stops us from implementing it from the beginning? Like how many of us actually use data on a day-to-day basis is very important. We have noticed that brands which use data-driven marketing have an advantage over generic marketing of their competitors. If let's say today's we have seen an increase in restaurants over the last decade. Restaurants are mushrooming everywhere, and competition is increasing, and the aggregators are giving heavy discounts and everything. In such an industry, in such a scenario, it becomes extremely important that we are able to know what is happening with our brand and then essentially tackle them with the data-driven marketing. So we all understand the importance of it, but here are some challenges that we have seen our customers face over, again, spanning across industries. These are faced by top brands, single outlets, chain outlets, everyone. So the first thing, I think, this used to be a more common notion in the past, but it's still sustained. The first thing when we talk about data is, restaurateurs are a little skeptical. Will my customers share data? Will they be comfortable in giving their numbers? There's this notion, or even if they deploy data-driven marketing, they see customers not being very willing to share their phone number. So I think that is one issue that has been kind of consistent over the last decade. Uh, then we have seen the second thing is the frontline staff opposition. So our ground level team is extremely busy, right? Especially imagine on a Saturday night when the house is full and a lot is going on. They tend to be very busy, and it becomes like an excuse or like a reason for them to not collect data. Or even in leaner days, they are like, we are already packed, we are already full. How do I add one more layer to the operation part of it? So there is a little resistance or a little opposition, not just from the ground team. In fact, it goes through the entire management only, because any change we have seen, any new thing that gets implemented, there is always resistance. That's just human nature, right? Thirdly, we see tech gaps. It's surprising to see still brands collecting phone numbers on pen paper or collecting phone numbers on an Excel and just sitting on it. It's gold mine, guys. Like, if you are collecting data on a piece of paper and you're not using that data, it's just a waste of that data, right? Because you're not able to do anything with such good data that you're collecting. So it's very important that you loop in the right kind of technology when it comes to using data-driven marketing. Without technology, it becomes a challenge to leverage the data that you are collecting. Then we have seen execution efficiencies. When we are starting any project, not just data-driven marketing, it's very important to have an objective in mind and to plan a course of action to achieve those objectives. So let's say when we start with a brand, we sit down and we understand what is that the client is wanting. So for example, the client can tell us that, I suffer during lunch hours on weekdays. What can I do about it? Or I suffer in selling some premium items, which I know I have a good margin on, but I'm not able to sell them. What can I do about that? So there are different challenges or different objectives every brand has in mind while implementing data-driven marketing. But if you're not clear with this, it remains very vague and no one is very clear what you want to do with it, data-driven marketing is not a successful attempt in that case. Then is bandwidth constraints. It's very important that we see this very often. We have people specializing in social media marketing. We have people in the digital space in different brands and or working with agencies in this case. But when it comes to data-driven marketing, it's left. Like there's no expertise involved. There is no person responsible to carry this forward. Anything, again, if not monitored well, if not taken care by, or no one takes responsibility for it, it's very difficult to drive it. So it is this bandwidth constraint is a major thing, and it cannot be done by one person, one marketing person who is doing social media, who is doing digital marketing. It's very difficult for them to do everything. One person is not the solution for this, right? So dedicated resources need to be applied to data driven marketing. Inability to track performance when you're doing everything. Suppose you've taken data from your Excel sheets and you are running a WhatsApp campaign or you're doing an SMS blast and you're not monitoring what's happening with that. Eventually, you will never get to know what's the result, whether it worked or it didn't work. Maybe it worked fantastically, but you'll never know because there's no trackability on the back end. So again, technology plays a very important role when it comes to actually tracking the data, tracking the performance of the campaigns and everything. Data quality, it is this particular concern is faced even in larger, like we were talking about the data quality concern. So it's very important that the right kind of data, otherwise you will be completely misdirected if the quality of data being collected is not accurate. And then another thing is inconsistent efforts. We've seen brands being very excited in the beginning that okay, let's do this and let's get into it. But if it's not a consistent effort over a period of time, data takes time to build, right? So it has to be consistent in order to maximize the return from it, right? If the restaurateurs who mentioned they are using data, if you have faced certain other challenges which we haven't covered, would love to hear from you guys also. If you can just mention it in your chat, something that you encountered, because we have kind of summarized what we saw the hundreds of restaurateurs that we have worked with face in different geographies, from cities like Gorakhpur to cities like Bangalore. We've encountered challenges for brands across geographies. So this kind of a summary of that. If you feel there is something else that you would like me to talk about, we can definitely address this in the later part of the conversation. Moving on to the solution to the problems that we just discussed. While we talk about the best case practices, it's very important to remember that every strategy or every solution has to be tailored depending on the brand's reality. And not just the brand's reality, the outlet's location also. So if you have multiple outlets and one of them is next to, let's say, a college and the other one is in a tech park, what works for both of these outlets is going to be very different. So though the attempt is to tailor make things, these are some of the best case practices that we have seen work for brands at large to address these common challenges faced by them, right? So the first thing is when it comes to customer resistance, what works beautifully is the fact that if you incentivize customers, if you give them something in return, be it like a welcome reward, like share your phone number and get a coffee on your next visit, or share your phone number and we will give you 100 bonus points, loyalty points will be added to your account, right? So anything to sweeten the deal really helps break this ice. And once they get into the loop of collecting, giving their data on a regular basis, it becomes very easy for you over a period of time. If the initial hurdle goes away, and you can consistently collect data after that. Right. Then the second part is when it comes to frontline staff opposition, it's very important to make our team, make the entire team, not just the ground level staff, make the from the CFO to the person doing marketing to even the ops manager, to sensitize them. Why are we doing this? What is the objective of collecting data? Because at the end of the day, this is going to help the brand at large. It's not something only for the CMO or not something only for the marketing team to look after. This improves business overall. So if you make them understand, or if you put this as a part of their KRA or their KPIs, which is going to indicate their performance at all levels throughout the management, it really impacts the amount of things that you can do with the data that you collect. Thirdly, it's optimized software selection. I think, again, it's very important to identify the objective that you want to drive through it and choose a software which is best suited for you at the moment. What is your appetite like? How much are you ready to invest? What is the objective? Are you able to understand?
Guys, I think we lost her again.
For agencies, I think it's best to involve an expert when it comes to drafting a plan on what you want to do with your data-driven marketing strategies. It need not be someone external, it could be someone internal. It is very important to identify, sit together as a team, identify the challenges that you are facing at a business level and see if that can be resolved with the data that you collect. For example, if the ops manager is seeing a lot of negative feedback coming in, data really helps in identifying. You can communicate with the customer. If I've given a negative feedback, you have my number. You can reach out to me and understand what went wrong exactly and how can we make it better. Give me something in return just to make sure I am not an unhappy customer. I go back to the brand and I'm retained. Then we have efficient resource deployment. This is again very important, giving KPIs to the top level management also. For example, the CFO can be in charge of ensuring the maximum ROI. The CMO can be in charge of strategizing the campaigns. The ops team can be in charge of ensuring the right kind of data is being collected. So deploying this across the team is very important. Then we have inability to track performance. Here, technology is very important. I think just before we got into the webinar, I was talking to a client of mine, and their question was, why can't I do this alone? Like, why can't I do this just on WhatsApp? The reason is, once you do, you can definitely do a blast on WhatsApp, right? But what next? Are you reaching to the right people? Are these people responding to your campaign? What to do in future? Will you keep on sending blast and just spam your customers? That's not the right approach, right? So understanding what is the impact, who to send it to, how to optimize it for future usage, that is where technology comes in picture. Data quality concerns is something that needs to be, there is no other way than apart from, understanding and monitoring this on a regular basis and cleaning this data. and identifying the source of wrong data coming in. If there are multiple outlets, identify which outlet is the key source of incorrect data coming in. If there are multiple servers or cashiers who are punching in the data, identify where is this source coming from, right? Is it staff A who is punching in wrong or incorrect data, or what is happening? And accordingly, how can you rectify them? How can you make them understand? How can you set processes in place for this? So that is there. And inconsistency in effort, I think here the vision of data-driven marketing plays a very important role, to have a regular, like a quarterly or a monthly check to understand if you're achieving your goals. And if you're not achieving your goals, what are the problems? Is it the strategy that is the problem? Is it the collection that is the problem? Is it the channel that is the problem? The data-driven marketing can be done across channels. It's not limited to WhatsApp. It can easily be done on social media. It can be done on multiple other platforms depending on your objectives, right? So it's very important to periodically review where things are going in order to follow the roadmap. And this is where, we as Kairos ensure that our clients are on the right page. Our clients are at least aware of what's going on a regular basis. So we can suggest them better strategies and we can optimize it over a period of time. Again, if anyone has had a different solution to these problems and it has worked well for you or it didn't work for you, I would love to hear from you guys. If you can mention it in the comment, we can take it up in a later stage.
Yeah, guys, let's keep the chat box very active. We have Shanky's time today with us. So let's make the most of it and ask her everything that we can today regarding data. So yeah, Shanky.
Yeah, I think moving on to hyper personalization, which is basically making every data point unique and individual specific. Before we touch this, understanding what is data is very important. So data traditionally meant phone number and name, or phone number, name and address. Like that's what data used to be. Data is no longer that. Data has multiple dimensions. It indicates every attribute of the customer. What do they eat? What do they drink? How many times have they visited? How long does it take for them to come back to the brand? Do they come in couples, or do they come in groups, or come individually? Everything. Do they like discounts? Are they fond of freebies, or are they fond of percentage discounts? Everything, every aspect of the customer plays a very pivotal role in understanding who they are and segmentizing them into different metrics. And this is important not just for running your campaigns. This largely improves the experience or enhances the experience that I as a customer have with the brand. I can see Rima having coffee, right? So she likes coffee. I know if I have a restaurant and she visits my restaurant, I know if she likes coffee at 4 o'clock, she wants to drink a coffee. Can I send out a campaign to her at 3 o'clock? Saying that, Rima, if you buy coffee today, I have a cookie for you. It's very relevant for her. The time is very relevant for her. The SQ or the item being suggested is very relevant to her. So that's where hyper personalization comes in. I think total spend is a key indicator. Like, what is the customer lifetime value? Like, how much have they spent with the brand? Defines who are our top spenders. I had asked a question in the beginning of the webinar that, do you know who your top customers are? Do you know who those people are? So these are your high spenders, right? What is the average value like? We'll see all working. Even give a very lucrative customer who has never voted on it, and I tell them to come for lunch on a Wednesday, it's very likely they're not going to respond to it because that is not a genre that they fall into. Alternatively, you give it to someone who actually visits on weekdays. It makes a large difference. It's convenient for me as a customer, also, it's relevant to me as a customer. It's not spamming, it's not noise, it's something that I actually want to respond to. Right, so that is there. Then we have, when was the last time the customer visited? This is very, very crucial, right? So if I visited yesterday and you're sending something to me today, not relevant. If Rima visited like 2 days back and I'm sending you a "We Miss You" campaign, not relevant. Becomes very important to understand when these customers have visited. What is their life cycle like? How soon am I expecting them to come back? Suppose I expect my customers to come back in 30 days. So I will trigger a campaign on the 25th day or the 26th day to ensure that they follow their life cycle and they don't get lost. They are engaged with the brand. Right. It's also important where are you acquiring your customers with? A lot of us are on Zomato, Gold, Dine Out, and all of these other aggregator platforms which help us acquire customers. It can be even social media, it can be influencers, it can be multiple channels. So understanding where you are getting your customers from, understanding the cost of acquisition of these customers, and then understanding what is the retention value. For example, back in 2018, when Zomato Gold for dine-in was huge, we led to a humongous acquisition of customers across brands. Even the premium brands saw a large chunk of new customers flowing in. But these customers essentially were very discount driven and did not get retained with the brand the moment that Zomato Gold 50% off was cut off, right? So it's important to understand what channel of marketing is working for you and then understand and then reaching out to these customers. Feedback responses, I think this is extremely crucial. If it's a positive feedback, well and great, we can engage with the customer differently. And if it's a negative feedback, if you respond to them, customers want to be heard. Customers want to be, they want to want you to make them feel special. And this is the best way of making them feel special. If someone had not a great experience for whatever reason, and just a concern or just a campaign going out to them saying that, hey, Rima, the coffee was bad, so sorry. Next time the coffee is on the house, just dropping the coffee is on the house. So that makes all the difference. She is going to be a brand promoter instead of someone who is saying that, don't go to this cafe. The coffee is not that great, right? So that is very important. And group size is very important. So I'm sitting in Bangalore right now. So Bangalore sees, like one of our brands here sees a lot of party people, like corporate parties happening. The kind of communication you would send to a corporate event or even kitties, even other groups would be very different from what you would say send to a group of friends of 2-3 friends maybe, or a couple. It's very imperative that we sensitize ourselves to what the customer is or who the customer is before we deep dive into what kind of campaigns we can run for them. If anyone has used any other additional metric for hyper personalization, would love to hear from you in the chat.
Shanky, we had a request. So someone is asking that अगर हम कोई case study share कर सकते हैं, any case study that can help them understand with an example that solved a problem, like that solved an XYZ problem using data.
Definitely, we'll talk about a case study which is probably globally very famous, which is the Domino's case study. But to talk about the real-time case study, something that we kind of resolved for a brand was we had this brand who was giving very heavy discounts on Zomato and Swiggy. And the problem with Zomato, Swiggy, like the dine-in discounts on Zomato, Swiggy, is that everyone is giving it. My restaurant is giving it, the restaurant next door is giving it. There's nothing unique to me. So essentially, customers engaging on Swiggy, Zomato are floating customers. They are not loyal to you. They are loyal to the platforms they are coming from. So this was a challenge for the brand because the cost of acquisition went really high. And the moment they stopped doing discounts, they faced this problem that, customers stop coming. And it's not just a discount that you have to give, right? There's a commission aspect to it also. You don't get any customer data from these platforms anymore. There are a lot of these challenges. So what we did for this brand was we tried to understand what is the customer segment first. So we highlighted, okay, these are my customers who are regular and they have a good spend amount. Like they spend a decent amount of money with the brand and they are frequent. They used to be loyal to the brand, but now they have moved to Swiggy Zomato portals for availing the discounts that is being offered there, which was a huge burn for the brand. At that point, the burn was close to 35% when it came to discounting, right? So it was really high, and the brand owner wanted to move out. We did something really engaging. We gamified the whole thing for them. What we did was, code card, very have you done it in any card? Starbucks or food court, like pay a certain amount of, and you can use over a period of later in future, right?
Shanky, your voice is breaking a bit.
Is it audible now? Can you hear me?
Better. I think there's some
Hello.
internet issue from your side. There's bandwidth low is showing.
One second.
And guys, yes, for those who are asking, we will share the recording. So we'll share the recording on our WhatsApp group if you're there, and हम YouTube पे भी upload कर देंगे. So by the end of today, we'll upload the video on YouTube as well. Let me share the link of the webinars that we have done, so you can follow that. Yeah, Shanky.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, it's much better.
Awesome. Awesome. So like I was talking about the top-up cards, so how food courts work, where you recharge your card and you're able to use it over, a period of time, and that's your currency. But we gamified it in this case. We told the customers that, you give me 1,000 rupees, you top up with the brand for 1,000 rupees, and we will give you in return 5,000 rupees. It was very exciting, very lucrative, and everything. So the TNC for this was that you have to use this entire amount in a period of 90 days, which is 3 months. Second TNC was whenever you are trying to use that 5,000 rupees that I've given you, there's a cap of 50% off on the bill, and maximum you can redeem is 1,000 rupees. Right. So these were the TNCs: 90 days, 50% cap, and 1,000 rupees maximum you can redeem at one go. Essentially what happened here is over the first 2-3 weeks of implementing this across the brand, we got some 1,500 customers to sign up for it, where they gave a topped up money of 1,000 rupees upfront to the brand, which led to a direct revenue for the brand, and they accumulated some 15 lakh worth of revenue without actually having to give out any food or invest in anything, which added to their working capital, which was great for the brand. Secondly, what it did was, now as a customer, suppose Rima has done a top up, she has 5,000 rupees from the brand. Back of her mind, whenever it was a pizza brand. So back of her mind, whenever she is craving pizza, she is super loyal to the brand. She is singularly seeing that brand only because she knows she has 5,000 there. And whenever she wants pizza or whenever her friends want pizza, she is making sure everyone is going to the brand. So increased brand loyalty greatly. People who were visiting the brand, let's say once in a quarter or 4-5 times in a year, started visiting twice a month. That was the average conversion we started seeing. Also, they started spending more because they had this in mind that they have to exhaust that entire 5,000 rupees that they have. They just have 90 days. So initially, someone was just ordering, let's say, a couple of pizzas and a few beverages. Now they started ordering a takeaway garlic bread also, or a takeaway pasta also, just because they wanted to make sure that they are able to use it fully. Which increased the spent amount that we were hoping for this particular conversion. Like when you are trying to redeem that 5,000 rupees, the spent amount per customer increased to 17,000 rupees on an average, right? Which led to, and this was like a 6-month activity. We did this over a period of 6 months. The overall revenue generated net minus the discount that was given to customers because of the top up. The overall revenue generated was 75 lakh without any marketing cost. Like this was not marketed anywhere. And this was driven by the staff, like the team. Suppose if I am the manager who is selling the wallet to Rima, it was tracked. That data was tracked on the backend that, Shanky sold so many, and the staff was incentivized to do it because they are the ground people. They are the ones who are interacting with the customers on a regular basis. And this was essentially opted for by the regular customers or the high spenders. Right. So this really impacted the entire revenue that customers were generating for the brand, while decreasing the cost of discount to around 17%, which was half of what the brand was experiencing when they were on aggregator platforms. And at the same time, these guys became super loyal and very sticky with the brand. So this is the power of hyper personalization. It led to an overall growth in their revenue numbers by 20% in that entire six months duration, which was great. I'm talking about the net revenue numbers, which was, so when it comes to data, we always talk about net. We don't talk about gross only. At the end of the day, we want the brand to grow holistically and not superficially.
Right. That's amazing. Guys, anyone has any other questions, we can take it up if you guys want, because we realize that it's been over an hour. So Shanky is going to talk about, of course, her presentation. But अगर किसी को और कुछ questions हैं तो वो डाल सकते हैं chat box में. Yeah, Shanky.
Yeah, we now understand data. We now understand what is hyper personalization, what to do with it, right? Once you have all of this data, the first step is to segmentize these customers into different groups: high spenders, lost customers, pizza lovers, customers who used to visit and have become more infrequent now. We want them to increase their frequency. Everything, all of that. Customers whose data we have and they haven't actually visited, that's a huge chunk. That's a very lucrative chunk for you to get into. So segmentizing customers. Activation is basically understanding what that segment needs and then running campaign on that. And optimization is monitoring the response of these campaigns on a regular basis so as to increase revenue over a period of time. Like whatever the ROI is right now, how can it keep getting better? Basis what is working for the brand, basis what is working for that particular segment. That's about hyper personalization. Any questions on how to deploy it? We'll cover the steps also, like how we at Kairos deploy hyper personalization is we analyze the segment, we leverage data insights. We see, okay, these are our high spenders and their frequency of visit in a month is, let's say, 1. So how do I make it 1.5 to 2 times in a month? Then we align this whole thing with the entire marketing vision. This cannot be a separate division in your marketing. It has to imbibe into, you're putting up a food stall, put a QR code there. You are doing something on, let's say, your local television, do something to acquire customers from there. So it has to integrate to all your marketing activities. We help in ideation of campaign and we recommend which channel is important, right? So if you're launching a new product and you're running an ad on Instagram, Facebook with it, it's very important that we can align our data there also. Like it's your asset, data is your asset, right? So you need to ensure it's being utilized to the optimal to bring in that revenue for you. Then we support in coordination of the campaigns. When is it supposed to run? How is it supposed to run? Monitor their performance, and then we conceptualize what is the life cycle of the customer like where are we losing customers? How can we better retain them or better sell them? And the entire journey falls in a loop. If anyone has any questions on how to utilize the data that they have or how to deploy data-driven marketing, please feel free to add in the comment box. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very
No
true.
question.
That's very true, Govardhan. So, Shanky Sabri has written really amazing. Any restaurant will increase the profits only if we make efficient use of the resources available and optimize them. I think we are solely focusing on the marketing part where the costs are high and the rest are all being ignored. Very, very valid point, Govardhan, I think.
I think data is not something which is just marketing.
Yeah.
Data points to a lot of directions. Marketing is the way in which you can optimize it to increase revenue directly. Like it's a direct impact correlation. But data also gives you a lot of understanding. Again, going back to a case study we did recently. For a chain of restaurants, we were monitoring the new customers acquired across the chain and what is the funnel like, right? And there are more than 60 outlets in the brand. We noticed there were different outlets. So there were a certain group of outlets who were very good at customer retention from their new customer to customers becoming repeat. It was very good. So things were sorted there. But for outlets where we noticed that, if 100 customers, new customers are visiting in the month of month 1, how many of them are coming back in month 2? We noticed the numbers are very bad. So it was like 3-4% customers coming back in those particular group of outlets. Then the idea was to operationally check what was going wrong. Was it the ambience? Was it the experience? Was it that, the location was not great or not very reachable? Maybe it was a food quality issue. So again, we fell back on data. We analyzed the feedback that we were receiving for those outlets, understood where things are going wrong. And it was different for every outlet, right? Somewhere the ambience was not very welcoming to a new customer. Somewhere the ambience was, the location was such it's difficult to reach there for the second time. In some places, the pricing was not right. Like in some locations, the pricing around the outlet was different from what they were at the brand. So it's very important to understand data helps your overall business growth. But since we are covering today's topic is data-driven marketing, we were focusing on the marketing aspect of it. But definitely, I would 100% agree. Data drives everything from your ops to your finance to even your pricing strategy. What should be the pricing of your items on the menu? Hear it from your customers. Understand the value proposition from your customers, right? So data impacts everything. I hope I was able to answer this.
Yeah, of course. No, okay, so Govardhan was data scientist for a few Fortune 500. That's amazing, Govardhan. So I think you understand data a lot more. Yeah, Shanky, you can please carry forward.
Uh, yeah, so we will be wrapping up the conversation in some time. Wanted to cover what we actually look up to the domino strategy. And also, we have a fun activity planned towards the end of the conversation before we sort of wrap up. So so Domino's, everyone knew Domino's like when they launched, it was great, right? It was one of the low cost pizzas available in the market, 30-minute delivery. We all grew up witnessing the 30-minute free window delivery for Domino's and everything. But Domino's started seeing a huge dip in their market share, a huge dip in the and very negative reviews somewhere in the late 2008s and 2009s, early 2009s. And they had a huge setback globally, not a geography specific problem. That is the time they realized that they really need to look into their data to address different challenges. So, for example, when they looked into their data, they realized that their customer feedback was just down the roof. Like people were not liking it, they were calling it the cardboard pizza and stuff like that. So, they really needed to change the pizzas that they were making. They really needed to upgrade with the evolving market standards, which they weren't earlier when they weren't looking at their data. So, that was one of the key learnings. And over a period of time, once they started making those changes, once they started analyzing, they realized the power of data, and they have increased their business globally by 20% over the last decade using data across everything. They use data throughout the entire operational as well as marketing and sales channel. So their objective of doing data driven marketing was increasing customer loyalty. This is great, right? So this is not history, this is happening real time. So this year, September 2023, after more than 15 years, Domino's has changed their loyalty program structure. They realized that customer loyalty is not just about getting customers back again and again. It is also about increasing the number of items that they're ordering. So initially, Domino's loyalty structure used to be incentivized on how much you're spending. Now it also factors in how many items are you ordering. Like it's currently live in the US market, will soon follow in the Indian subcontinent also. But that's largely how Domino's is going to incentivize customers. Where if you're ordering a pizza and a dip, even you are going to be more incentivized than just ordering the pizza, thereby increasing the array or horizontal product line for every customer. They want people to try more of their, right? Of course, boosting sales. We are all here to talk about increasing revenue, so definitely Domino's wanted to do that as well. Optimize marketing investment. Marketing is takes up anywhere between 6 to 10% of the gross revenue generated by the brand. Once utilized in the right way, it can yield amazing results. Like we have seen brands increase their total revenue more than 20-25% even over a period of time when done correctly and regularly, if it's being done on a recurrent basis. And elevating customer experience. We spoke about this, right? Like Rima likes coffee, send her coffee information. So similarly, Domino's wanted to sensitize themselves. And the strategies that they used to do this was they use data-driven segmentation. They segmentize customers into, these guys only order from our app, or these guys order only in our dine-in experience. And they also personalize the messaging that they do. I think not just Domino's, we see Zomato, we see Swiggy, everyone personalizing the communication that is coming to us. So with data marketing, all of these capabilities, all of these amazing capabilities does not lie only with the bigger giants like Domino's, Swiggy, Zomato, but we can also do it. Even a single restaurant can do it, right? Because if you are able to understand and leverage your data, you might as well be able to send personalized campaigns. So that is how empowering data is, right? So then they make sure that the communication is across. So it's not just coming to me, let's say on a WhatsApp marketing platform. It's also coming to me as a push notification. It's coming to me on Instagram. It's coming to me on Facebook. Everywhere they are using 360-degree channel marketing in order to engage with the customers across the world, right? Then this is very interesting. I think all of us who have ordered from Domino's in the recent past must experience this, where they are using data, they are using AI to predict what Rima might want. So two things factor in here. One, Rima's past history of ordering is factored in. Secondly, her segment's past history is factored in. Like customers like Rima, what are they likely to order, and what is Rima likely to order. And that comes on the POS system or the billing system of the person who's actually punching the bill. So I'm aware now if Rima is ordering a veggie pizza, I know that she might opt for a cold drink along with it. So I'll see if I can upgrade from a small to a large cold drink, right? Or can I sell her maybe a dessert along with it? That's how segment response. So small steps, but these small steps together make a huge impact. It has a butterfly effect, right? So the moment you start doing it individually for every customer, every transaction is impacted by a certain increase in revenue, or the customer becomes more frequent, thereby increasing the overall revenue for the brand. Any questions? Anyone would like to share some insight on this?
Guys, we are just at the end of the webinar. If you guys have any questions, feel free, or else we'll just open it for general Q&A in like next quick 2 minutes.
Yeah. Before we do, I would like see if there is a volunteer from the audience who would like to do a fun activity with us. So we have something called an ROI calculator, which basically showcases what kind of range, like a illustrative example of how much a business can earn, or how much potential revenue a business can generate if they were to leverage data-driven marketing. So any restaurant here in the audience who would like to take part?
Guys, come on, it's going to be really fun. Anyone here? If not, then I'll jump in because I'd love to do that. But I'm sure if anyone
Yeah.
who owns a restaurant would be like
It'll be very simple question. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, just if anyone's interested to take part in this activity, voice issues with Kairos. Ways to
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, Shanky, we can hear you. It's just that your voice is lagging a bit. There's थोड़ा internet issue है आपके side से. Anyways.
I think
Shanky,
it's
Harshil is asking ways to recall customers without giving offers or discounts. Harshil, is that a question?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, yes. So, okay, so Harshal is asking ways to recall customers without giving offers and discounts.
So Harshal, I think it's very important to understand.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harshal, I think it's very important that we understand who that customer is and what is the objective. What are we trying to do with them? As much as it is important to ensure there's a healthy business revenue and not do a lot of discounting, it is also very important to be aware of what's happening in the surrounding. The customers are very spoiled in today's time and age. Every other platform is coming up with something lucrative. But saying that, it is not absolutely not true that we need to give discounts on everything. It's also a lot about brand recall. It is also about creating a lot of engagement. It is at the end of the day sending something which is relevant for that customer. So, for example, let's say, if Rima likes coffee again, if we tell her about a new flavor that we have launched and just sending her this information can drive her to come back to the brand and try that new flavor, right? So it's not always about discounting, but at the same time, discounts really help in converting, let's say, if it's a lost customer, someone who has not visited for a very long time, giving them that incentive to come back is very important. However, when we plan our discounts for our clients, we try to make sure that the bottom line is taken care of. It's not something that we'll give like a 50% off or like a free item on every campaign that we are doing. But once this customer has come back to the brand, the lost customer has come back to the brand, they start becoming frequent again, which reduces the impact of discount. It is not a discount which is massy. I'm not saying 25% off for everyone. It is for a particular group of customers, if at all a discount is going.
Okay. Guys, मैंने सबको unmute करने का permission दे दिया है. तो if anybody wants to ask anything, you can unmute yourself and speak it out loud also. In restaurants, what is a standard repeat cycle and percentage of lost customer? I mean, obviously, it would differ from restaurant to restaurant, but I think he just wants to know like a ballpark number usually.
So I think Harshal, again, it really depends, very subjective, but it ranges anywhere between, customers being retained ranges anywhere between 10 to 20% if without any data-driven marketing. So out of every 10 customers that essentially visit the brand, we see a lot of them, like 80-90% of these customers not coming back to the brand. And that is the importance of data-driven marketing in today's time and age. And we actually track these numbers, right? Though it depends from brand to brand, the numbers change depending on the competition in the area and the service and the food they are providing. However, the churn is very big. Like we lose out every 80 customers out of every 100 customers.
Right. Also, Shanky, we have a question from Mr. Govardhan. He's asking, example, he has 10K customer database and his sale is 20K a day with only 5 tables in it. So kindly help me understand how Kairos can help him improve his sales. How do we understand from his customers are not coming back frequently because higher table turnaround time? Though the food is doing really good, assuming he has an outlet in very premium area where customer cares more about his time and not the discount.
I think Govardhan, if you would like, we can actually do that activity with you, where we can take down numbers from your brand and we can kind of punch it in, and we can see what is the optimal revenue that you can generate, keeping these numbers in mind.
So, Govardhan, are you up for the activity? Yeah, he's okay.
Awesome. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, we can now.
Yeah. So Govardhan, can you see my screen as well?
Govardhan, you can unmute yourself. You have the permission to do that now. Okay.
Yeah. So this is an illustrative example that we use to kind of evaluate the potential of increased revenue over and above what you're currently doing with data-driven marketing. Of course, these numbers change depending on the frequency of the campaign, the brand reality, geography, and everything. But this kind of gives you a direction of what is possible. Govardhan, can we hear you? Like, how many outlets do you have?
I currently have 3.
3 outlets. Awesome. What is the count of dine-in bills that you do? Like, how many bills do you punch every day?
Depends on the day.
An approximate figure?
Assume 100.
100 bills across 3 outlets or like individually?
Yes,
Across
3 outlets. Individually 100. So it will be 300 each.
Okay,
300.
300. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what's the average bill value per customer, like per
Person,
bill? Yeah, per bill.
assume 700.
Per bill is 700, right?
Yeah.
So enrollment percentage is, let's say, if 100 customers are
100.
coming in. So I'm able to capture 80% of the data. It can be a higher number, it can be a lower number.
I'll be able to capture 100% of the data.
I'll be able to
So
100%.
because
That's
we've
good.
made the phone number mandatory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the way that you can, if you are collecting data holistically, and let's say if your repeat customers are just 20%, you would be able to collect lakhs of data, right? More than 2.62 lakhs of data. Keeping in mind your repeat customers is 20. So have an idea what is your repeat customer rate like? Like out of these 100 customers, how many would you say are repeat?
So 80%.
80% of them are repeat.
Based on what I see in Relo at least.
Okay. Then we are able to collect some unique customer data, about 65,000 in the entire year, right?
So yeah, my challenge here is how to make them appear more frequently. Let's say there are 20 or 30 outlets in my city or the area. I operate one single outlet. Let's say a customer goes to a restaurant for 10 days in a month. I want to make sure he cannot come all 10 days to the same place, right? What I want to do here is I want him to appear in my restaurant like at least 4 to 5 times in the 10 iterations that he actually goes out.
Can I know
So
more
how do
about
we
the
do?
cuisine? What cuisine are you like?
We
What kind of
offer, we have a wide range of cuisine, like from Pan Asian to Indian. We pretty much offer everything other than the continental.
Okay, awesome. So I think
Mhm.
Govardhan here, before we dive into how can we make these customers repeat, I think we
Mhm.
would like to bifurcate these customers in terms of the total visits that they have made and what is the
Mhm.
frequency of their. So let's say me, you, and Rima are all customers for the brand. I will have a different journey. Rima will have a different journey. You'll have a different journey. The idea is how can I incentivize you to come more often, right? So the
Okay.
campaign the focus of the campaigns, keeping your objective in mind, would be to increase frequency in a short period of time. Like we want them to come more often and in a shorter period of time. It's not like I want
Right.
them to visit like 5 times in a year. I want them 3, 4 times in a month, right? So it has to be very specific to the customer, and it's very important to understand the customer pattern. Like what journey are they on? If they are a new customer, then the approach is going to be very different versus if there are someone who has been with the brand for a very long period of time. So segmentizing these customers and offering them relevant information. So if you're doing some activity like a live music, right? You want to communicate to your customers that we are doing live music. Or if you are selling, let's say, coffee, a coffee subscription is a very good way of making sure that the customers are coming often. Like pay for 5 coffees, get 10, right? So that really works well in order to ensure that the customer is coming back to avail the coffee that was given to them. So there are
So the
multiple,
problem here, uh,
yeah,
so the problem that we are facing here is, so 80% of my customers are repeated customers.
got
So,
it.
let's say whenever I want to start any campaign based
Mhm.
on, so to increase the frequency, whom do I target? Let's say if I spend 10,000 every day, because it
Hmm.
costs 1 rupee for one WhatsApp message, and
Correct.
the bulk SMS, it directly goes into spam folder.
Correct.
So how do I make sure, with the data that I have, I'll be able to do the one that I've just asked for? That's a
I think the
real
first step,
problem that
yeah,
I'm facing, so I'm asking you directly.
I understand it's actually a real problem that you're facing because you do
Hmm.
go have a retention, right? But again, going back to the fact that we have to break it down into segments and look at this data. We have to look at your RFM health. We have to look at different metrics and then identify what needs to be done. So one of the examples, like I said, if you are selling something which can be consumed on a recurrent basis, it's a good way of making sure that the customer is coming back more frequently in a shorter duration, like a coffee subscription. Alternatively, there are other things like we have to really deep dive into it. And I would definitely not recommend doing any mass shootout to these customers because they are regulars. You don't want to spam them. You don't want to lose even one customer here because here the lifetime value of these individual customers is going to be very high. I think the 80-20 rule that we talk about, that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your repeat customers, holds very true in your case also. So every customer is a very valuable asset in this case, and anything massy is definitely not recommended. We need to understand when do they visit, how many times do they visit. When you say repeat customers are so high, that's great, right? But when was the last time they visited? If you have not visited for a while, what I'm going to send to a customer like that versus what I'm going to send to a new customer is going to be completely different. We have to figure out what kind of burn percentage you have in mind to retain these customers. We have to figure out what is going on in the brand. What all information can we pass? Christmas is near, right? A lot of brands are doing a lot of things around Christmas. What are you doing? Can we inform customers about that? Can we engage them in
Right,
that?
right. So the problem here is, let's take an example for Christmas. So let's
Correct.
assume 1 lakh people come out for Christmas and we target all 10,000 of them. But my
Correct.
restaurant can only accommodate 150 people at a time. That if we use all the chairs efficiently. So the
Correct.
table turnaround time has to be lesser, and the maximum revenue that can be generated in a day has to be calculated, right?
Absolutely.
Example, I target so many people, and even if they come on a Christmas day, the experience wouldn't be really good.
Absolutely. So again, segmentizing is key over here. We'll never do a massy campaign which is going to
Mhm.
10,000 customers. It will be,
No.
so for example, I know I have I can't accommodate more than these many tables. Keeping that factor
Mhm.
in mind, let's say for Christmas, we want to target our high spenders. because we know the value that they will add per is going to be much larger than the other segments, right?
So like I want to understand how do I know here? Let's say out of 10,000, if I target 100 customers, they would definitely come on Christmas Day and they would be spending more than what other customers spend. How do I know
Right.
who are my top 100 customers? Because I
I think
want
that's
to increase my revenue.
absolutely. I think that's a very good question, Govardhan. It's very important to go back to our past to understand what the future might look. So, and it's very important that we see our average spend per customer in the past, how they have been spending, when they have been visiting. If you have past data, how long have you been using the CRM system?
So for like last 2 to 3 years.
Awesome. So you have good amount of data, right? I think we can
Mm-hmm.
definitely take this conversation offline after we are done with the call, and we really
Right.
like to help you with the steps of it. Because I think what you're asking is very crucial, and that is the beauty of data, right? Because you can actually dig deep into it. It's not massy. Nothing will we never recommend our clients to do anything massy until and unless it's like something like a new outlet launch and they want to reach out to a bulk customers just to send out an information. Every approach has to be very specific, very targeted, depending on their behavior, right?
So
I think we
okay.
just, yeah,
So
we'll just
what I meant to, say I want to add something to what you've just said. So how bigger brands usually target is like, let's say they take a food costing, for example. You are selling a margarita for Domino's, since you've given an example. Let's say their profit margin is 80% because no two dishes will have the same profit margin and there won't be the same food costing for everything, right? So we
absolutely,
have to upsell those dishes that will have lesser preparation time and, that will decrease our table turnaround time and increase the customer,
absolutely.
retention and whatever it is. It's whatever when you were presenting, what I felt is there's a lot of other things that need to be taken care of in order to achieve the desired result. The
Absolutely.
existing data capturing mechanism that we have competing with
Mm,
Swiggy and Zomato is like really hard because they know using the cookies when the customer is in a mood to order a pizza, when he wants to eat a biryani. But how do we know? Because we are targeting randomly.
mhm.
Using the random data, if we target the customer just based on the discount and loyalty, I don't know how deep it can penetrate and how well it can work out.
I think I 100% agree with you, Govardhan. Data, when we talk about data, largely because we were addressing the marketing part, we discussed if we had more time, we could probably cover all angles of data, how it impacts business. But
So
what you said is very true. Yeah,
So the only way how I am seeing things is I'm completely out of Swiggy and Zomato. I never share who my customers are, and I'm increasing my number of outlets so that I can have my own customer base. And if additional data, if I can collect or if I have, I'll be able to target in the future. If you can really do that, just get back to me. You can get my details from
we'll
Rima
definitely.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think I would love to have a one-on-one with you,
sure.
because what you're saying is a it's a very common problem. Understanding who to
Mhm.
target and how to target and how to target, keeping in mind everything that you just mentioned. It has to be sensitized, and I think what
So
the potential.
I'll give you a heads up on the real challenge that restaurants are facing right now because Swiggy and Zomato are starting their own food brands. Instead of promoting the other restaurants, they started doing their own brand because if restaurant is paying them only 20 to 30 percentage commission, if they can
Yeah,
even upsell their food, they'll have like a 50 to 60% margin from it. So they've recently started setting up number of cloud kitchens. So rather than using restaurant as a service, they've started focusing on food as a service right now.
correct.
So
And
that's
it's very
what restaurants have to
important.
be protected from, and that's how the
Exactly.
analytics has to help them. And Swiggy and Zomato doesn't share the customer data with the restaurant, as you know.
So we have a mechanism, Govardhan, in this. If you've noticed, Wow Momo has started doing this recently, and a lot of other brands that we encourage them to do this as well.
Mhm.
We put QR codes on the Swiggy Zomato orders because, like you rightly said, Swiggy Zomato does not share their phone number with us. If we can put a QR code on all our deliveries, whoever is doing deliveries on Swiggy Zomato, as a customer, I then scan the QR code and I get something out of it, which enables two things to happen. A, you get to know me as a customer because you did not know who I am earlier. Secondly, I have an incentive to actually come and dine in with you. I have an opportunity to have that entire experience that your brand is offering, and I'm not restricted to just Swiggy Zomato anymore. So this largely covers up a lot of challenge of not getting the data from Swiggy Zomato, and it's a very effective tool in order to ensure that we are secure. It's an insurance for us. It's an insurance for the restaurants to actually know who these customers are, because Swiggy Zomato, as we all know, is something they never share their data, right? So there are a lot of concerns around that, and this is a very good way to assure that we know who our customers are.
Right.
Yeah, I think Gordon, I'm just looking at the numbers that you mentioned.
Guys, I'm sorry to break up the party, but we're moving way past our time. Govardhan and Shanky, can you guys take it offline? Shanky, I'll share details of Govardhan
Love,
with you.
sure,
Yeah,
sure. Love to. I'll just, I think we'll just wrap up then.
sure.
This last part, I think what Govardhan mentioned, the numbers, given the numbers, given that we know we do a certain amount of campaign and there's a cost of doing these campaigns, everything said and done, his brand has the opportunity to earn additional 19 lakh worth of revenue annually. So that's the power of data-driven marketing. And these, of course, these numbers can increase, or it depends on a lot of environmental factors, depends on how frequently they're doing campaigns and everything. But that's the potential revenue that data can give in, apart from the experiential and apart from the operational angle to it.
Right. Amazing. This exercise was actually really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
And
Shanky, for doing that.
Sure. We'll just wrap up. I think
Yeah.
closure, I just want to reiterate 2-3 points and then we can.
Right, of course, of course. Guys, meanwhile, Shanky just reiterates, can we do a huge shout out for her and write thank you in the chat box? She did a lot of effort creating that Excel sheet for us, sharing all the insights. Let's give her a huge round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, Shanky, you were saying.
Yeah, so just to wrap up the conversation that we had over the last 1.5 hours, it's primarily important that we collect data. That's the key to it, that we collect data. We collect the right kind of data. We segmentize the data. We group them in different segments so that we don't face an issue which Govardhan is facing right now, where he has a chunk of data and doesn't really know who to send it to. Then we strategize on that. We figure out the pain point of that segment. We strategize. We make content which is relevant for that customer. We reach out to them. We track the revenue from them. That's the entire journey in one thing, and that's where Kairos also helps. Because we've been doing this for the last decade, because we've done this for hundreds of brands across different geographies. We have a fair understanding on the direction, and we keep optimizing our way of doing it to ensure that the ROI of the brand goes up and everything is done at a very brand level and an outlet level in a tailored approach, and nothing is massy. Like we don't do segmentation massy for our clients. Our approach is also very customized and hyper personalized for the brands that we work with. And it's very important to remember that we can't lose out on our repeat customers. They contribute to 80% of our revenue. So let's ensure that we connect with them, we engage with them so that we can grow as brands ourselves.
Awesome. Okay, so Harsh, what we can do is, Harsh, if you could DM me your details, or if you could DM me your phone number, I'll share Shanky's details with you. And then you can reach out to her separately. Yeah, sure. Okay. Thanks, Harsh. So guys, let's just bid. Please share the same with me, guys. What I'll do is I shared a form ka link. I'll share that again with you guys. For those who wants to reach out, Shanky or Rilo or anyone, just quickly fill out this form. You just have to give in your phone number and your name. And if it's for Rilo, our team will reach out to you. Or अगर ये Shanky के लिए है, तो Shanky's team and Shanky will reach out to you. So guys, it's just a quick 2 minutes form. बहुत ज़्यादा time नहीं लगेगा. Just fill it. It'll just help Shanky organize that, who she is supposed to reach out. So Shanky, thank you so much for taking time out today and giving us such a
Thank you.
valuable session inside. Guys, I hope everyone learned something and took some valuable out of this lesson, out of this session. Please just put like a big yes in the chat box below if you did learn something. It'll really help boost morale, both of us, for arranging such a beautiful session. Shanky for arranging such a beautiful presentation and detailed presentation with us. So,
Thank you so much. You
okay.
helped the platform also. I really hope people learned a lot from this and they can eventually use their own data in the best way possible.
Yeah. So guys, I'm just going to leave the chat window open. I and Shanky are going to sign off. For anyone who wants to click on the link and fill their details in so that Shanky or I can reach out to them later. So just going to keep the chat window open this for a couple of more minutes. And thank you guys. You guys were an amazing audience and thank you for staying till the end and patiently listening to us. See you. See ya, Shanky. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.